everybody. My name is Donna, also known as Donna Janelle, CEO and founder of Parenting with a Purpose. Our strive here at the podcast is to reach every home, whether it's single moms, married, single dads, whatever it is, foster parents, whatever, just bringing the ownership and responsibility and nobility back into parenting. Get comfortable with uncomfortable conversations. All parents need some help and guidance, and I'm just here to be a guide. Hey everybody, welcome back to Parenting with a Purpose. I am your host, the one and only Donna Janelle, and you know we are here to bring back the responsibility, nobility, and beauty back into parenting. As you know, parenting is not for the weak. Parenting is hard as a mug out here. I'm telling you, it is not for the weak. And my goal and our vision is to parents are the bows and our children are arrows, and they will land wherever we send them. Might not be today, might not be tomorrow, might not even be next year, y'all, because it's hard out here, not just as parents, but as children too with today's environment. So, but we know that if we dress our kids with the proper tools, if we don't send them outside naked, if we clothe them, that they will be able to be successful in their life. No matter what journey they're on, they will eventually land where they're supposed to be. So parents, don't give up. Don't give up hope. Just keep fighting the good fight of faith and pushing them along. So tonight here, as you know, last week we had an amazing episode. We were talking about vision. I figure we are in 2024, so we should, in January, so we should be starting talking about what do we want our year to look like as far as parenting, how we want us as parents to be, and also our children. What can we do to make sure this year is successful? So I thought it was fitting to have Vision on last week. And as you know, we had Bishop Billy Lane Jr. from Christian Growth Ministries. He literally laid out to us the vision of parenting. And he was so open and so transparent about his journey into parenting that I know it touched a lot of people. So Tonight, we're going a little bit different because as a single mom of a young black male, I've always questioned, am I parenting him right? Am I giving him the tools? Because I'm not a male, so it's very difficult for me to understand the perspective of a male. So tonight, guess we have two young men here who's going to give us their perspective of being young black men, as I say young. You know, a lot of black men are out here, they're not even on TV or anything like that, but we have them here in the studio tonight, so I'm excited. We have Bryce, Shelton, and Savion Thompson tonight. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So the night conversation is going to, it might get a little deep because, again, I got a lot of questions about the perspective from a male, okay? A lot of questions because my son is very quiet. He's 15. He don't talk much, but I know that there are some things that we're going to talk about tonight that's really going to resonate with him. So hopefully, Josh, you're out here watching because I want you to watch the show tonight. I know my girls are out there watching. But welcome to the show. I'm excited. Thank you so much for coming on. Come up a little bit. Thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. I'm excited. You guys are excited?
I'm excited as
well. Oh, yeah, definitely excited to be here.
All right. So first, we're going to get a little background. Bryce, and then we're going to go to Savion. Tell me your age, about yourself a little bit, what you want the people to know, and then we'll talk.
I'm 21. I like a lot of things. I like making music. I like reading. I like swimming. I like architecture. I like marine biology. I like a lot of different things.
Okay. All right. 21, you said?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And I'm also 21. My name is Savion. I mean, she already went over that, but what I like to do is I'm a videographer and I do photography, so I like to step into my creative realm type thing. And I also am a cook, but I started off cooking, so I got a little bit tired of the cooking and I switched over to the different side of art, like the videography, photography thing. So that's basically what I'm into now. A lot of trying to express myself through photography and video. So it's been going pretty good so far.
Okay. Now that's very different, I would say. Both of you guys are entering things that are different, but I think in this world right now, everybody is just trying to find themselves and figure out and be okay in the areas that they boss in pretty much. Before, when we think about, honestly, young black men, we think about athletes,
Definitely.
basketball, football, even going to baseball, we don't hear too much about hockey, or even
We got our
soccer
few.
too much. You know what I mean? We don't really hear it too much, but or wrestling or things like that. But we definitely hear about basketball and football and baseball. So I think it's so refreshing to have you guys on here who sound very intellectual already. I can hear that. But also tapping into things that you guys like, not necessarily what the culture of our people necessarily have created a narrative for you. It sounds like you guys are out here creating your own narrative.
Trying to, hopefully.
Which is good. So let me ask you a question. Just a little bit of background about your parenting. Like, what kind of homes you come from? Married, single? Like, what kind of homes did you come from?
I come from a home. My parents divorced when I was like 8.
Okay.
And I think it's been me and my mom ever since.
Okay.
And you still learn to be a kid too.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't really understand parenting.
Right. Absolutely not.
You don't really understand the whole purpose of what's it called? That type of structuring. Like, what am I using a lot of this stuff for? But once you get older, you start to get in certain situations. Okay.
Yeah, mine was kind of right. All right, yeah. Now it making sense.
Yeah, and for me, I know when I was younger, I didn't really have my dad much. Cause I mean, my dad was there when I was like really, really young. But I say it's from most of the time, majority of the time, it's been just me and my mom. So I like to say, just single family household, single parent household. And she been doing her things. Like you said, you don't really understand a lot until you get older. You like, dang, yeah, she definitely was, right?
Right, she was already holding it down.
Yeah.
Because as a kid, like, you just want what you want, you know. And as you grow, different hormones and stuff, so you feel like you right a lot of times.
Definitely.
And, parents can't be right. And even though parents, we want the best for you, I've done that too as growing up, like listening to my mom particularly, because that's where I was. Sometimes, like, growing up, I would say, like, all this crazy, I ain't going to be like her. I ain't going to do this. I ain't going to do that, felt like all this stuff in my head.
Definitely.
And then when I became an adult and became a mom, I was like, some of her ways are definitely so important. Like, one of the things that she used to do when I was younger is like, we used to have to go to bed really early. Like, we lived in a project, right? And you can see it's still daylight outside, and I hear all these people playing, and like, we
still daylight.
creaking. Yeah, it's still daylight, and we like, it is summertime. We ain't no school, right? And I remember, like, me and my siblings creeping through the shade of the window, looking at people and listening to people trying to get some excitement because their parents outside playing. And I used to think, like, dang, man, their parents were so cool. They letting them do whatever they want, right?
Yeah.
But then as I grew up, realized, like, when I look back on a lot of those kids, like, they're not where I'm at now.
Yeah, I feel like it was like their parents didn't really care. It's not as that their parents were that's cool. And I noticed that some of my friends too. Like, I feel like I was like, yo, your parents are so cool. And then I noticed that they just didn't care as hard as my mom did.
Yeah, like they didn't have no structure.
Yeah,
I thought that was
much
the bomb. Y'all
going
can be
on.
outside. Y'all
Like,
can be doing this and the other. And then I look back on them now. I've been out of, it's about to be 25 years I've been out of high school. Yeah, I'm a little old. Yeah, much older. But I look back on those people that I kind of was like envying and stuff like that. I used to be jealous and envious about, like, yo, y'all parents, but now I'm older, I'm like, yo, that's crazy. It was hard. A lot of stuff happened that shouldn't have happened, but there was a lot of good stuff happened too. Like, I feel like that kept me from not being, one of those persons that was out there and potentially being in harm, like jail or, anything like that.
Yeah, it kept you out of that trouble.
Yeah, it kept me out of trouble. And I think as parents, in our mind, we want the best for our kids, and it's kind of hard to, like, get that through their head while they're young, right?
Definitely.
So we want to talk about, you guys had sent me the pointers, like the topics like you guys sent me was really great. I really was trying to, like, bring it all together, and but we'll talk. The first thing we'll talk about is talking about. I love technology, yo, because we can pull stuff up just real fast. I wanted to talk about fostering open communication. That's one of those things. Because as parents, we think that we're great communicators. Like, listen, the communication we think that we're great is like, you're going to do what I say, pretty much, not as I do. That's all the communication you're getting from over here.
That's about sounds about
That sounds about right. And then particularly coming from a single mom's house, like, we really got so much on our plate. And we was like, listen, just do it because I say it. I'm going to say this point, and I'm going to let you guys roll with it. I know so many times growing up, and I don't know if you guys heard this too, is that I put food on your table, clothes on your back, and heat in the house. Yeah. That's all. Listen, that's all they told me we had to do. Yeah. That's all they told me we had to do. And as a child, you like, that's all you want to do.
I'm like, dang, that's the bare minimum, mom.
That's the bare minimum. And as parents, we didn't realize that, but we really got that like generationally. Mm-hmm. And as a parent, I started to learn that, you know, it's about emotional well-being, mental well-being, and all those things. And it was like, I realized, I used to grow up like, all right, at least they putting food on the table. At least I ain't say what kind of food. At least you putting food on the table. You ain't say what kind of clothes. Like, you clothing me, okay. And I used to grow up, and I remember early in my parenting, I found myself repeating the same words, even though growing up I said I was never going to do it. Okay. And I was like, oh no, we got to tap in something different. I got to do something different. Okay. So let's talk about that communication piece, or actually, if you want to talk about the food, clothes, and shelter mentality, and how it's much more. Our children needs much more, and then we can go into like, I guess because that could be part of that communication thing.
Part of that thing. So.
I think the food, clothes, shelter type of thing. I think that comes from it's definitely like a older generation, and it's more of like it's a necessity type of thing. Mm-hmm. And I think like with our children, we not so much like shouldn't just give them the bare necessities, but more like with just food, clothes, shelter, that's it. A lot of parents may write that off as parenting. Ooh. Not knowing that children have different needs, mm-hmm. different wants that are emotional or just, you know, a mental thing, just to have a conversation. Mm-hmm. And I think when it gets boiled down to food, clothes, shelter, it hinders a lot of, I guess humanness.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When if you're just like food, clothes, shelter, I don't want to look at you as just where I get those things.
Right. Okay.
I want a human as well. Right. And I think we, as humans, we all crave connection and closeness, and that's just an innate thing.
Right.
So when it comes to like that, putting these three things that you would essentially just go to jail for if you didn't do it's like, you know, children grow up with curiosities that they have about certain things.
Definitely.
And when you were talking about like, what's it called, like emotional well-being and bringing children up in a way that is, I'd say like just fulfilling. Mm-hmm. To a lot of times, parents will think that like a kid needs to be this way, mm-hmm. but the kid will show you who they are.
Right.
By 6. So it's just a matter of like understanding, like, and also letting them kind of get somebody other than just like, I guess
it's like I feel like it's like
that feels more like a guardian.
Yeah,
like,
I'm about to say it's kind of like the genuine parent connection. And another thing, like, because we think from the kid side, but we also try to think from the parent side too. Because it's like nowadays it's so hard to just even live nowadays. Like, mm-hmm. Like you did give me food, shelter, and because that's all you could do at the time. You know, It's so hard. It's just to make money nowadays. It's like, okay, you did give me food, shelter, and some clothes on my back. But I know, like, and depending on where, like, depending on where people live at, like say somewhere to live in the projects or where they were to live in like a really nice housing, I know that goes into it too, because like the people like from where we come from, it's like they just that's all they know is work. So it's like they work. They come home, they just want to give the kid the iPad and go about their day, you know. So I can see that from that perspective too. But yeah, that's another thing. So yeah, that's you know.
Yeah, I think just like you said, like the emotional connection, and you know, I can speak from a household of a married household and a household of a divorced and single household, and I know like when I was married, like you know, it seemed like it was definitely I can do more. It seemed, well in my mind, when I look back on it, I felt like I was doing, you know, the best thing in the household, but there was 2 parents in there, even though the other parent wasn't parenting like the way I wanted him to parent, but I felt like, okay, he's still here. And but over time, as being now a single mom, it's like I understand how, you know, parents got to work to provide, because it's listen, groceries these days, like
crazy,
the amount.
I can imagine. That's the thing.
It's crazy.
Man, I got the, all right, so y'all know I got.
Parents says,
Yeah.
shut up.
Yeah.
It's like I can't imagine. Like
I can imagine.
I have kids. Well,
What?
I have guys at work who
Uh-huh.
have kids.
Okay, I was like, wait, okay.
Who are around my age, and it's just talking to them. I'm just like, I can't imagine going home from this and like, yeah,
Yo,
like
the
I need
food-
my prefrontal.
That's what I'm saying.
cortex
I be
to
saying, I'm
all
like, dang, like yo.
hard.
As you get older, you start to notice you like, dang, kids do cost a lot of money. You like, yo, I cost a lot of money. You
It costs a lot of money.
You're like, wow, I
And-
do cost a lot of money.
And then my kids don't get it though, because they like, I guess when you're so used to providing and they're always having the things there, like, you know, the food there and stuff like that. And when, like now, my biggest challenge right now, my 3 teenagers, now I have 4, the 3 teenagers, the two are about to be 16 and 1 about to be 18. Okay. Yo, they eat me out of house and home. Like, you know, my parents used to be like, y'all gonna eat us out of house and home. Like, I literally understand what that means. Because now it's like the difference between, all right, I gotta provide some food. Like, every week, like, yo, them jokers are eating. Like, I don't understand where it goes at, though. Like, my brain was like, so your inner senses didn't tell you to stop eating. Like, what is wrong with you? Like there's nothing, because I'm like, there's something that's called, you know, it tells your brain, like you're full, like the satiety, like that part don't work on you because you ain't never full. Like sitting there with my 17-year-old girl, I'm telling you, sitting there with a whole bowl of cereal, not like a regular bowl, like y'all know, because y'all probably got them bowls, like those big bowls that we use to mix up something to make a cake with bowls.
My friend used to eat out of a mixing bowl.
Yeah, mixing bowl, a bowl, the box of cereal, and the milk. Milk never go back in the refrigerator, right? It is sitting there at the table with the cereal as if it was just, we just about to get it down. We having company today. This is us. Like, my brain don't function that way. But yeah, definitely different than I grew up in. Because I asked my mom, I was like, yo, did we eat canned goods because, like, we ate too much and that's all you could really afford to make sure that we kept eating? Or, like, what was the deal with the canned goods? Because I feel like I told my sister the other day, I'm about to start going to dollar store and start going grocery shopping because this is crazy. Like, I buy good food and y'all eating it that fast. Maybe if I could
They got some pretty decent stuff at Dollar Tree, too.
Yeah, young man, you know what it is now.
You get some decent stuff over there.
But help us understand, like, the perspective of when we talk about this communication. Like how we communicate with our children, particularly our boys. Because one of the conversations, Bryce, I recall we had on our phone, and it was about pretty much how sometimes boys feel like they're being devalued. They're not being valued based on, you know, one of the notions that we had talked about was boys are easier than girls.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
talk. I want you to talk on that a little bit because I've been running that by a couple of people, and they just was like, "What?" I said, "Yeah."
So, like you said, boys are easier. I read a book called The Will to Change by Bell Hooks. She's like one of my favorite authors, and she explained a lot of like shit. It's called The Will to Change Men, Masculinity, and Love. Mm-hmm. So it covers all these different things, and it was talking about one of the main things that she talked about a lot was the patriarchy and like that style of living and that style. The patriarchy when it looks at people, the value gets diminished down to status, assets, money. Status, assets, money, productivity, stuff like that. And a lot of times, and it's even in the same sense. It's like when dudes would be like, oh yeah, like women are submissive, like that's a patriarchal thing, and dudes are meant to be dominant and all this stuff like that. It's a culture that, and in relationships, you're not supposed to dominate anybody. Nobody's supposed to be on top of each other. And I think when, like, in that way, hearing it's easier to raise boys than it is girls it's more so I want my son to subscribe to patriarchal masculinity, so I will like condition him that way, or I will emotionally neglect him, and that is the easier experience than having to deal with a more upfront, more externalizing girl.
Right.
And some dudes are more externalizing, but whether it's media or friends or, it's usually media, family members, stuff like that, the notions of patriarchal masculinity is kind of wedged in between a lot of different parts in our culture, and it keeps everybody disconnected. It makes everybody think that they're other and that they have to be this way. And I think as humans, we are multifaceted, like by nature. There's nothing like you said with like the food, clothes, shelter. It doesn't even feel right. So like, just be like,
This is all you get.
And that's the thing. It's like, it feels like I don't know. It's like, I know from working now, I understand. I was like, okay, I understand. That's a lot to do after work. But
Yeah, true.
it's I don't know, like that's what I hear when I hear that notion of it's easier to raise boys than girls, or just saying that like boys are this, any boys are this, girls are this notion. I think all of us, especially like growing up in the communities that we are in, have some form of androgynous nature, even if we don't look at it like straight up. Like even some dudes that are real street are very reactive.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a thing we don't look at, because when we look at the man and the woman, it's like dude's supposed to be this, woman's supposed to be this, and we can't see people outside of that. And when you have a boy who doesn't care to do all that stuff, or doesn't care to the kind of performative masculinity that a lot of dudes like we were talking about with like the athletes. Like being an athlete is like apparent like peak masculinity or something like that, but it's entertainment, and you're being, for the most part, a lot of people get exploited through those things. And yeah, you may play, you may do these things, but there's wear and tear on your body.
Right.
And when you get wear and tear on your body, those corporations, those people who own the teams are just going to look at you like
Next person,
they can get two people. So,
Right.
And a lot of dudes, they grow up like, as soon as there's any type of changing in the body, it's like that boy need to play a sport or something like that. And that's cool. Playing sports is nice, but, I want to see more dudes growing up being poets. I want to see more dudes growing up being photographers. I want to see more dudes growing up being like sculptors. I want to see more of that. And I think because it's looked at as it could, some people might say it's dumb or and call it feminine. And I don't know. I feel like creativity is something that comes from God. So it's like,
Right.
it's not necessarily a male or female thing. And I think that since we don't really look at the language we use and we kind of just like regurgitate certain things, like we don't really understand the connotations of certain language, how it's framing people, how it's giving the people an idea of who they are as a person.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of boys who can easily just be labeled a knucklehead at an early age, but are dealing with hurt and like longing for closeness and stuff like that. So
Right.
it's a thing where we have to force ourselves to humanize each other.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, I can see
I
that,
think,
yeah.
like, I don't know. Like, for instance, when I met Savion, I was like in kindergarten, he was in first grade. And I wasn't like, I never was really the basketball guy. You know, my dad was in a smooth jazz band, so like I knew jazz and and like gospel and little TV shows, but nothing about like me watching Naruto when I was a little kid made it seem like, go like, oh man, it was just like, it wasn't even like in the, I didn't really start getting into like middle school. So like middle school is a big thing for like, I feel like middle school is a big thing for people to kind of like crack down on parenting, on like maybe breaking a foundation, rebuilding something. But yeah, just being able to be open with somebody and respect their interests was a skill that he had in first grade that a lot of people don't have.
Okay.
So it's just, I don't know, some.
At first grade, wow. Talk about that, Savion.
We starting early. But yeah, I definitely feel like, especially like with moms and stuff, I feel like it's harder to get through to boys too. For some, I don't know why it is. I guess because I mean, I can see why, maybe because it's like a male and a female. Like, I guess it's hard. Like, we don't go through the same things sometimes, so it's kind of hard to speak on certain things with your mom sometimes. But I don't know. Maybe I need to do more like research on it for some reason. Why? Like, it's hard. I feel like it's harder for boys to get through to moms for some reason. I don't know why.
I think, from a mom perspective, like, and then again, it's all about environment, and, because our environment kind of really shapes us. Like, we have that, our inheritance, right? We have our genes, right? But then the, nature versus nurture, right? And sometimes they're at odds with each other, right? But, like, from having a young man, like, knowing, like, the things that I lack from my father and the things that I wanted to see my son do, and I felt like, or the things that I lacked in the marriage of my husband, I was trying to push my son to do something different, be something different, and then that was me really trying to make him a little bit more aggressive, right? Make him a little bit like, this is what a man's supposed to do. I'm trying to groom you. I'm not a man, but I'm trying to raise you to have these type of, I don't know, like he's very quiet and shy, but I felt like I have to take that out of him. Like, because boys aren't supposed to be like that. That's not how they're supposed to be. Because when you think back in slavery, like, a lot of, they were having kids for reasons, right? For work and things like that. And it was always like so aggressive with the male portion. Like, so over time, we've learned to be very aggressive with our males and not be in tune with their emotional needs. Because if you're in tune, I'm not raising a weak boy, because our perspective, how we look at it is like, listen, no, you're going to be better than the other man, and you're going to be better than that man. And particularly for single moms, like, we want to make sure our boys are good husbands for when they get married, right? So we kind of like, based on, again, our environment, how we think things supposed to go. But then I start to realize I had to take a step back because I'm pushing stuff on him that's not even him. Like, he's showing me over and over again, I'm not that dude. Like, I like to read. I don't want to throw no football. I'm great at it. I'm really good at it. He's left-handed. He's good at it. I'm good at basketball, but that's not my desire.
Right.
Okay.
And for me, it's like, but you're supposed to be ready to do this. You're supposed, like, everybody else around, do you see what's going on with males? And I think, and because as parents, we want our children to be better than we are, right? Mm-hmm. So we think that we're doing things to push them into that direction. And I realized with my son, because he has a challenge with social disorder, right? But because I was pushing him and being aggressive for him and putting him around aggressive men, that really made him pull back even more. Yeah, and it's like, yo, but I thought we supposed to be doing this. Mm-hmm. Until he said, Mom, I don't need, my son requires the bare minimum. Like, he tells me all the time, you doing too much. Like, we don't even do that. And then, like, the girls, he'd be like, they too loud. Like, it's just too much going on. Like, we don't need to do it. Like, it's not that deep. But my son always tells me, Mom, it's not that, like, serious, relax. And I'm just like, what? No. Like, I'm the aggressive one in the house. And he just, like, not that he weak, but he just, like, think about it. It don't take all that. Right. To get your point across. It don't take all that Absolutely. To do A, B, and C. Yep. But me, like, listen, I ain't trying to have you sit on my couch. I ain't trying to have you have no girl waiting on you. I ain't trying to have all this stuff. So what you going to do is, like, take out the trash now. Like, those type of things.
And it's important to, like, understand that, like, stuff like that is out of fear.
Yeah.
And, like, when you raising a kid out of fear and trying to employ these things out of fear or anxiety, that's a lot for everybody. Like, right. that is it's a struggle for everybody. And I think, like, masculinity can be so many different things. I think like, I don't know, everybody, I don't know, maybe I haven't watched any or much Idris Elba or Morris Chestnut stuff, but, like, Idris Elba's, he's never been, like, the whole loud type guy, but that's just an example. But, like, I feel like that performative masculinity is the one where it's aggressive and it's super dominating. And black people, since we've been here, since we got here, have been hyper masculinized, and a lot of times we are, especially in communities where it may be underfunded, you can't portray the baller, playboy ideal of what's being shown to you as a real man that's very dominant and all these things. So it creates a lot of insecurity, creates a lot of scarcity, and it creates a lot of like discourse. Like, people kind of will throw away, and he like they'll kind of like throw away figuring out more who they are for, like, the symbol of, like, being a real man or being a real woman. It's, you kind of get stuck trying to portray the image that's seen,
right?
And you leave real you wherever,
right?
And I think you know, we see that stuff in TV shows too, where it's like a dude and they get older and they're like, I always wanted to be a dancer. Like, it's stuff like that. And I think it's important to kind of let people grow up into those things. And especially with, like, being a dude, the main thing is, like you said, like, I don't want you sitting on my couch. Like,
I'm about to say it.
And the thing with, like, being a real man and, like, having money is seen as synonymous. But I've met a lot of men with money who do not act like men. So it's like, it's really just like a thing for me to say, like, I got this. Like, it's like bragging rights, because if you don't intentionally, like, try to work on your communication or try to work on your relationships or try to, you know, just reflect and change behaviors. And that's the thing, like, growth happens from a lot of change and being able to embrace fear and embrace change. And that's something we're not taught. Like, a lot of times, like, it's, especially with dudes, it's like, you gotta be that way, very rigid.
Right.
It's
especially like how you said, like, with the environment thing too. Like, you like, depending on what environment you in, that's how you gotta grow up. That's how they want you to grow up. You know, your mom at the crib by herself. You know, they try to make you the man in the house early as they can. You know, they throw that on you early. So
they throw that on you early.
They throw it on you early. So
right. Now, let me ask you a question, because you both pretty much kind of been raised by single moms. How does that, because you mentioned that, how did that make you feel growing up of you having to be the man? You feel like you have to be the man of the house now because you're there. Like, how did that?
I say it was confusing. Yeah, confusing and tiring. I would say it's confusing.
Confusing and tiring. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Confusing more because it's so early in your life. You're like, I don't even know what's going on yet. Like, you're still trying to figure out what's going. Like, I was told this before I was even like in high school, so it's like, yeah, I'm still trying to figure out what class to go to when the bell rings.
I gotta run a whole household. Gotta take care of some kids and run a household. What you talking about?
And as a boy, you see so much patriarchal imaging. You're like, yeah, I'm the man of the house. Yeah. But then, like, you're stressed out. Like, you don't even really understand what's the whole purpose of thing. Like you were saying, like you. And it was very cool for you to point that out, because I never, I kind of saw it that way, but the way you put it was very cool about like seeing things that you didn't want your kid to be like, and you were just like, I need that. And we can, like, I don't know, kids can learn, like, and that's another thing, like older generations are very like, not into learning new things, and
some are.
Some are, and but that's like we can gain so many things just from like embracing change, embracing fear. Yeah. I remember I saw this one video where this dude was saying you can either live your fears or you can live your dreams, and I have that in like a little mindfulness playlist, and sometimes when I feel like I'm acting too out of fear, I'll listen to that. Because we want our parenting to come from a place of love, and a place of trust, and a place of patience, and a place of courage, and a place of support. You don't want to parent in a fearful state of mind. We may get that way for sure. That's a human emotion. Right. But the intention in which we may want our child to do something, if it comes from a fearful or a scarce or an anxious mindset, it can really disrupt a lot of things. And I think when you are a single mom, that's kind of how you feel. Right. And I understand that. And it's also, like you said, like you were saying, like communicating. Yeah. I think it's something that happens over time. You kind of, your parents are your first relationship. Absolutely. So like that's where you learn closeness from. That's where you learn what to take from people that you're in a relationship. And a lot of parents who may beat their children are teaching their children someone can love you and hurt you and physically hit you at the same time. Right. Someone can, and it's like for years. Yeah. So.
Because it feels like definitely everything that's going on. I'm happy we're like they're the generation that's kind of like breaking the generational curses type thing. Because I really do feel like everything has just been a big piggyback from slavery. To be honest, I feel like everything is just like a slippery slope from right there all the way to right now. That honestly, I feel like from a lot of research I've done, a lot of like the parental practices that's been going on now are just stuff that's been passed down through like years and years and years of like slavery, like people beating their kids, like that comes from years and years of us being whipped and stuff like that. So it's like,
I don't want to.
I might be like, no, you can go.
There was another thing like that. That you was talking about, like mentalities that go back to slavery. There's something that I saw that's talking about post-traumatic slave syndrome, which was pretty much when masters would come to purchase kids and stuff like that. They'd be like, no, he's this, he's that, he's that, he's that. And there's a lot of parents that they're like, when encouraging things are said about their children, or they're like, yeah, this is whatever. They're so good at this, they're whatever. You're like, you can take them, or like something like, or this one, he you don't want this one, or something like. Right. But it's that from down the line that, let's say, we don't look at our language, we don't look at the stuff it's like even. Yeah, like somebody could be like, oh, there's so this and this. I'm like, man,
that's a good one.
This kid,
Yeah, you don't want this one, yeah.
Yeah. You don't want.
No,
Did
no,
you
you don't want
guys?
this
I
one.
know. Did you guys see The Color Purple?
I
Have
did
you
not.
ever
Yeah, I didn't see the new. I seen the original.
The
one,
original,
though,
all
yeah, I
right.
haven't seen the new
So
one,
there's a
musical.
scene. The Color Purple is one of my favorite movies for so many reasons. But what you just said really resonated with me because there's a scene where Mister was coming to look for a wife, right? And he wanted Nettie. Do you remember
Yeah, I
that? He
remember,
wanted Nettie. He saw Nettie and he thought she was beautiful, everything. And the father said, "No, you don't want her. You want Celie. She could cook for you. She could clean for you. She could do all these things for you." And he really wanted Nettie, but the father, well, Celie's older, so you need to take her.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminded me of one of the Bible too, with Leah and Rachel too. But based on what Celie can do for him is how he literally sold her to him. When you think about it, so it's
So
the
you see
same.
it's product
Yeah.
services type of thing.
And you said something earlier, like a lot of times parents do parent out of fear. Because again, we want the best for our kids. We want our kids to be better. It's just that sometimes we have to learn like the tools and techniques of how to make them better without being aggressive. Like, I'm gonna beat you to you understand what I said, like that master slave mentality. And I'm not a parent who do that. I get a lot of pushback because I don't beat kids. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that it dehumanizes kids sometimes, and I also feel like it teaches them how. Yeah, it never made you a better kid. I feel like it teaches them how to be really aggressive when somebody says something or do something or don't do something you want them to do. You have the right to be violent to them. And I understand, everybody, I know y'all looking at me, spare the rod, spoil the child. They ain't say which rod. Now, y'all done went and got some crazy rods. I'm just saying. But
and the thing with that is, like, I don't, as a person, as a 21-year-old man, putting my hands on a kid because they don't understand something is like they're a kid. It's like it's the first time they ever been on Earth. It's like they first run with this. They still got like default settings and stuff. Like nobody's really like there's no foundation.
Right.
So and like using violence to kind of you're gonna do this or you're not gonna do this.
Right.
It just makes the kid scared. It teaches the kid how to sneak around. Okay, I'm not gonna tell them when I do that. Or it's like and it makes the kid like it doesn't do anything. Yeah, it actually leaves a lot of anger in the kid.
But I say definitely and it like hinders like creativity too. Definitely hinders creativity, especially like when how we were talking earlier, like how I feel like it was harder for sons to get through to their moms. It's like a lot of times when you ask your mom a question, they'll be like, because I said so. And that's a big popular answer, because I said so. That's just what it is at that point. It's just like, okay, I'm just not going to ask no more. I'm just going to do it and see what happens,
And that's definitely a generational thing because children are to be seen, not heard. And parents weren't explaining stuff to kids, really giving them an understanding because it really was more of an authoritative situation, right? Yes. And, one of the things that I realized working as a nurse, though, in a pediatric population is that there's a clinic called Enuresis Clinic, and that is a bedwetting clinic, right? Okay. We've had more males who bedwet than females, right? And a lot of it, once we boil down to realize that the reason why the males were really wetting their bed is out of fear. Like they had like some type of trauma from their parent, not like from being, not necessarily abusive, but beating and aggressiveness and how they're being talked to, how they're being treated. And those things go with these kids at nighttime, or even if they're out, something, and all of a sudden they have an accident because their bladder now becomes weak. See, a lot of this stuff we don't realize how it physically disturbs the body. Right. So a lot of young males, even when we were talking to them, because they're so scared, like they have so much fear at such a young age. Again, that fact that you need to be the man in the house. This is what boys do. This is what so much aggressiveness that it really starts to, at an early age, bother their mental, and then it goes and once your mind is jacked up, your physical just follows. The body's just going along the train, right? Yeah. So you made a good point about that. So how, as parents, how do we address our young boys? How do we communicate with them better to not have this type of outcome where they're scared, they're walking in fear, or they feel like they have to be so aggressive to, because that's just all they learned. How do we change that narrative as moms?
I think I'm gonna take one straight out of Bell Hooks for this one. She says, to truly protect and honor the emotional lives of boys, we must challenge patriarchal culture, and until that culture changes, we must create the subcultures, the sanctuaries where boys can learn to be who they are uniquely without being forced to conform to patriarchal masculine visions. To love boys rightly, we must value their inner lives enough to construct worlds, both private and public, where their right to wholeness can be consistently celebrated and affirmed, where their need to love and be loved can be fulfilled. And that's like, for sure. Like,
break it down, summarize that, because you done read a whole synopsis up in here.
it's truly protect and honor the emotional lives of boys. You must challenge patriarchy. That whole notion of like, boys must be this, they must be dominating, they must be the playboy, they must have it all together, they must be like completely stonewall. And I'm saying like a lot of like I remember talking about like the socialization of like the boy and the girl. Like when little boys are young, we're getting trucks and like army stuff and very just like toys to like bang on something, break something. And girls are getting like easy bake ovens and baby dolls.
Right.
So it's the whole mental framing is different.
Right.
Like our toys are meant to be shot at each other, you know?
Right, okay.
We played Beyblade. So like, and it's to just letting children live, like she said, like uniquely, like not every time you see something that maybe somebody in your family might not do, or like somebody you heard or maybe talked to might have done that you may see as like real masculinity. And a lot of times, because we don't understand what patriarchal masculinity is, we write that off as masculinity. Okay. And we see, like I have dudes that I'll talk to at work who just feel crazy because they're not like married and stuff at like 27. And it's like, there's more to life. There's more to life than constantly like being the protector and provider. There's more to life than just being this dominating playboy, whatever type of figure, type of symbol. And a lot of dudes, when they look at real masculinity, they may look at an athlete, or they may look at a rapper, or they may look at somebody along those lines. But an athlete dominates in his field and stuff like that. A rapper is the guy with the money, the jury, he's the top dog.
Right.
And it's like an image that, especially for boys who are in inner city communities who don't have access to all of these resources that could make them this dominating patriarch right away, it makes aggression a lot more likely when it comes to making money, when it comes to women. It becomes such a dire thing because this is my manhood. And it's like, that stuff is it wastes people's time, to be honest. Like there was many times in my life where I've realized like the times where I would kind of be like one of the most confused would be when I was looking at like how I want to live and like the patriarchal stuff that was around me. Like I was telling you about my friend Troy, where he was like, yeah, Bryce, you big, you should play football. I'm like, but I don't care to play it. But he's like, but you're big. You should play football. Yeah. It's almost like a waste of your body if you're not being used. And it's like, what if I want to use my brain, my mind, and other things for other purposes? So it's letting a kid grow up
uniquely, definitely the word.
Holy. And not holy in a sense, in like a religious sense, but whole in a fulfilling sense. And when we say like learning how to parent children without hurting them or traumatizing them. It comes down to planning and delivery and intention. If you could want this list of things, but how you deliver it to your kids is going to affect the way that they pick it up.
Right.
If it becomes a thing where it's like you can feel like the shaking, and you're like, I need you to do this, I need you to become this, I need you. It's overwhelming, and it is something that is like, it makes and a lot of dudes are raised up with that, like, make somebody proud mentality.
Yeah, definitely.
And it is like, I feel like for all people, boys and girls, it's like we need to let kids grow up in a foundation where they can be proud of themselves for the things about them, for the things that they like to do.
Right.
And it not be filtered through what the parents think is real masculinity or real whatever, or think that they should be doing.
Right.
And I think that way a lot of us can kind of grow up normally. I think it becomes a thing like Bell Hooks was talking about, like creating those subcultures.
I think a lot, from the perspective of a parent, a lot of it is we don't want to drop the ball. We don't want to fumble our kids. Like,
I've noticed
I feel
that,
like we don't want to do that. So we tried to figure out, parenting is not easy. Or no, like, it don't matter. Like, if you're married, single, divorced, parenting is not easy. Because to be responsible for another human being who have their own thoughts and intentions that you can't, one of the things I'm learning in parenting is, like, you can't make a person do anything. Like, even as parents, I used to think that I could make my kids do A, B, and C. Now, when they were younger, they were sponges, so they was like really trying to, they had the reward system and stuff. But now they teens, they like, listen here, because they have their own way of thinking, which we want our children to think. We want you to be free. We want you to think. We want you to have self-expression without harming yourself. We want those things.
Absolutely.
But it's so hard as a parent because we traveled this road as children, right? We see so many things, and we just want to protect our children, whether they're male or female. And I think sometimes, we're not perfect, but we get it wrong a lot of times. And it's like, you don't really want to get it, as parents, we don't really want to get it wrong because it's somebody's life is involved. But at the same time, there's, as we talked about growth and pain, like there's growth in children are growing in development, and parents are growing in development and parenthood as well. And I think that it's just so hard to really parent out here because you can't control. Like, I feel like my biggest thing is, like, I get so frustrated because I can't make you do this. Like, do you know how good this is for you? Do you understand the benefits in that? I can't make it for you. I remember my oldest is, she'll be 25, and she had said to me, based on what you were saying earlier, I didn't get it till years later, but she had wrote me a letter, and she said that she's tired of living a porcelain lifestyle. I didn't know what that meant. I was like, porcelain lifestyle? What you mean? We ain't just sitting up on no counter. Like, we out here getting it in the world. You know what I mean? But it was because I created an environment where education was number one, and that you had to have straight A's, and you had to have this. And that became, because growing up, I felt like the way out of the situations that I was in always has been education and knowledge. So I wanted her to have this education and knowledge. But where I fumbled her was where I wasn't in touch with her emotional needs like that, in touch with, she's an artist, in touch with some things. Listen, I'm a nurse. I want you to be a nurse, a doctor, a lawyer, because this is the way to financially support yourself. And that's the things, because growing up, I didn't see anybody be able to financially support themselves, right? So these are the things I want my kids to do. Right. But however, I feel like, because, again, this generational thing is that, now the three youngest ones, I raised them differently though. They're reaping the benefits of what I've learned from her. But it's certainly a thin line between not doing too much and then doing too much.
Yeah, I will
You
say
know?
I noticed for like a lot of parents, it's the thing that like they don't want their kid to be the failure. You know, it's like that. It's really, really big on scared on their kid, not letting their kid fail. And I be telling my mom one time, I'm like, Mom, you gotta let me fail. Like you gotta let me mess up. Like I'm never gonna learn it if you just keep like you're on my back 24/7. Like you gotta do this, you gotta do this, you gotta do this. Just let me mess up. You gotta let me mess up once or twice, and then that's it. You know, once they mess up once or twice, like I know you said your kids are what 17 and 18.
Yeah, they about to be 16 to 18.
That's what I'm saying. Around that age, if a couple times they mess up, they gonna figure it out on their own. They gonna get it, because I feel like around that age, a lot of times it was like you're trying to do so much in your head because you're about to graduate school, and then you're like, dang, do I want to go to this college, or do I not want to go to college?
Right.
Or do I want to do this, want to do that, want to do this, want to do that? And then it's your mom too. Your mom's like, well, you need to do this, and this, and then it's just so much going on in your head at one time. You know, it's just like I be telling my mom, like, you just gotta let me mess up for myself one time, so I'll learn my lesson, and then and that's just how
that is so hard. You said like telling your mom you gotta let me fail. Do you know what that sounds like?
Yeah,
to
you gotta let me learn my lesson.
But I think also it's the perspective of failure too that really kind of shifts the thing.
Definitely, yeah, it's definitely because failure. I noticed it like in my grandmom's eyes, her failure is different than what my mom's think of what I'd be failing is to what I think failing is. It's like all different. It definitely is different discrepancies between everybody else and what they think failing is. But yeah. And
you, to your point, that failure is necessary though.
Yeah, it's necessary.
That's part of growth and development.
Growth, yeah,
you know, when
like,
you're a kid, when you come out, you ain't just walking,
you
you crawling. You know how many times my niece about to be one, she falls so many times. I'm like, you ain't even gonna have no bottom no more. You keep falling like this. But to your point, it's as a parent, it's just scared, like with fear, you know.
Yeah, it's definitely,
and I
can see that. Yeah,
one of the things that's helping me in parenting though really is my relationship with God, understanding that, you know, I don't get it right. I know God probably be like, yo, you just come on, like for real, you keep doing this. But learning that I can't control them or anything like that. Like all I could do again is close them with the proper tools, you know, like communication. You were saying, teaching them how to communicate by being that example of communication to them. And then also, you know, what you were saying, we didn't get this conversation. We almost done it. We didn't even get to the meat of all of it. I can't believe we was there. But the perspective though from the young male is so important. Because as parents, we really think that we be hitting it. We be trying our best. We be like, but not realizing on the flip side of that of how you guys are really being affected and how, you know, that dictates to how the narrative of your life.
Yes. I remember in the beginning you were talking about you're like, I would never do stuff like that. If you are like, I'll never do that, or if you tell yourself a million and you just keep it, it's like perspective on like certain things. I'll never do that, or I'll always do this, or something like that. Mm-hmm. Holding too close to something or pushing it too far away can bring it very much forth in a different way, even if you don't see it right then and there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like running away from something or keeping it too close. And that's where like openness comes in, just letting things kind of like feel the things, let it pass. And that's the thing, like, and that's another thing about failure. Like we're seen as like failure. We're taught that like failure is like worst thing in the world, but you could learn so many things from failing. Like you can get into something, a career, and figure out, okay, it's not how I wanted to do this. And now you know that. Mm-hmm. You would have never known that if someone was just like, go all the way over here. Mm-hmm. So it's
because
you kind of everybody carves their own path, and I think it's important that we instill that in our children. Like you said, like your daughter who's an artist, like their artists can make really good money. Right. It's just a matter of like, I guess, all of the arts and stuff is just really like acting on a curiosity a whole bunch of times with passion. Mm-hmm. And you act on it once too many times, and then it reminds me of the book The Alchemist. Mm-hmm. In The Alchemist, he was saying like the closer someone gets to their personal legend, which was a word used for destiny, the closer someone gets to their personal legend, the more it becomes their reason for living. Mm-hmm. So people who get into things that fill them up with a bunch of passion. It could be family, it could be a job, it could be a hobby, it could be anything. But we're not taught to kind of figure those things out on ourselves. It's a lot of, like you said, I'm this, so I want you to be this, or I've seen that this is good, so I'm going to try this. But it would be easier on everybody if it just started from like ground zero, and you may know what you want for your kids as a parent, but to like keep those things and listen to your kid and how they're kind of just talking, like how they're starting to look at things, and you can feed them things, what's it called, like kind of spoon feed them throughout as they get older and can handle more in-depth topics. Right. I think, and yeah, parenting definitely is like something that I cannot understand, cannot fathom. But that's why I'm doing stuff like this, having conversations and like reading certain things, because it's just to understand certain things. Like I wouldn't want to be the type of dad that places all my value in like my money or like it's my money and like status and assets. Like I want to be the type of dad and type of husband that like has a relationship with my family, like an open, very close relationship with my family. And it's you don't get that when you're just trying to be, when you're trying to
definitely be more like authoritative than
you don't get that.
Like there was more of always like, you know, the thing in like black families, it's more of like I'm not your friend, I'm your mom. That thing, that's a big thing in there. So
and that tells the kid, I don't have a friend in the house.
Yeah, now you grow up and then you're like,
well, let me tell you why we say that.
Okay. I didn't hear from the other side.
Because it's like
you have to have a boundary, because respect and honor. Because if you begin to be, because you know how you are with your friends. So imagine you thinking your parent's your friend. You're going to talk to them that way. You're going to act that way towards them. And there's going to be a different level of respect and honor. So that's why we don't say it as we don't want to be your friend. Is that there's a reason why I cannot be your friend right now. I have to be your mom. Not saying that we can't chill, we get emotional. Like we open, that's what the open conversation for. But to the point where there still has to be a line, because then the relationship shifts. And you got to be able to. I tell my kids that all the time, and some of my kids get it, but my one daughter really has a problem with me saying that. Like, and I can't. I'm for the life of me, I'm trying to understand why. But now you just said it, because what if you the only friend they got, or something like that?
Yeah, if it's.
But it's also.
And like
you gotta have that authority, leadership.
Right.
You know, because even when you go to your boss at work, your boss ain't your friend. Like, you know, they ain't your friend. Like there's levels to this. And just teaching, like later on, I know, like I'm cool. My mom, like we say everything to each other now that we're older and an adult. But as a parent, we're really trying to get you structure in a way where, you know, that honor is still there and that respect is still there. Absolutely. So that you know how to talk to other adults as well. It's about respect, really, when we say that. It's not to crush anybody's heart or any feeling, but you're saying that y'all don't like how we say that.
And I get that. And I get that. But that type of, I guess, rhetoric, it's like, it shows you that, like, we're not equals. And it tells the kid, like, and I get to some extent.
But we not, Bryce. We not equal, though. I got this, the one that texted my inner gangster. We had that conversation.
I get that.
We not equal, though.
I get that. I feel it. But there's some friends that are cooler than your parents. Like, you can have a easier conversation with a friend.
I get that.
I
so, like, you saying I'm not your friend, I'm your parent. It's like,
then you like,
obviously, it's like if you my we're not friends. So it's like, and it's because, but that it's not because anything we did. You every chance when it becomes something, you're reinstating that, and I get, and it's a. Maybe I'll think like that when I'm very.
It's about a respect thing, like.
And I feel like there's other ways to
ways to say it,
other ways to lead, other ways to like. I don't. As a kid, you see your parent. You don't just like like there's no, you don't just disrespect your parents just to like mess with them. Like it's like and a lot of what we're taught is disrespect is like anything that I don't agree with, anything that I don't uphold, or anything that I wouldn't do,
Right.
anything that I wouldn't say. It's like everything kind of comes from like me and other.
I agree with that, because the things that I feel like my kid be disrespecting me for, like when I talk to, like that, how is that? Why does that make you feel like disrespected? Like if I clean the house and you come in and you want to be Hurricane, Ike, Tina, Mike, Johnny, Rebecca, like a tsunami, I now feel disrespected.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah,
That's
It's
crazy.
like
Respect the queen.
why would you disrespect me like that? But then other people or other people, well, how is that? Why is that disrespectful? Why do you feel that's disrespectful? I'm like, because I took my time to clean it and you came in and be a mess. But again, like you said, like respect, what people deem as respect and disrespectful is really a better perspective. But when we raise our kids and we're telling them, listen, this is what I like and this is what I deem as respectful. So I implore you to line up to that. It's like, nah. But like really, I do get, I definitely get the whole friend thing now as we even sitting here talking about it. I'm not your friend. However, I could maybe word it in a different way or show you that I'm still here for you. As a like you could converse with your friends, because like you said, a lot of kids tell their friends more than they tell their parents, because a parent, I'm not your friend.
You feel
so
like it's
that
more
communication is so important, so that everybody can feel like they can say stuff in a respectful way. Like some people think my kids talk too much, but because I'm open, I'm like, let's hear what you guys say. Like, you know, and because I'm open, it helped me parent better. Like my son told me that I was antagonizing my one daughter, and I'm like, what?
like that.
But it helped me because now I don't do that, and my relationship with my one daughter is better because my son saw that. Listen, you antagonize her. Like, what's going on? And he was honest enough, and he felt comfortable enough. Now, I'm not your friend, but we can have that open conversation. Before we wrap this up, because you guys got to come back again, because we didn't even.
Come back.
We didn't even.
We didn't get to the tip of the iceberg.
But I want before we leave, what I want you guys to tell me is that give me like one or two things that your moms did or said or shown you growing up that really resonates with you and stuck with you, that made you who you are now. Like, give me some type of positive, you know. You know what I mean?
I know for me, my mom has always told me like, you can do anything you put your mind to. And as a kid, it was so casual. And this is one of the things I realized, like as a kid, you don't really realize the type of stuff that you're around. You don't really understand your environment or how distinct it is when you're young. And I realized that like hearing that all the time, whenever I cared enough to like really put myself into something, whether it be reading or learn a sport or making a song, working on music, picking up a new instrument, it was like I didn't feel like, oh, should I do this? I felt like if I had enough in me to put my mind to it, then it would really like, it just, like stuff like that has always helped. Stuff like that has always helped, affirmation.
Yeah, for me, same thing like him, but also like my mom was big on you keep doing what you can until people start getting disrespectful. Like you can't just let anybody talk to you any type of way. So like, especially coming from like her, she was born a while ago, 68. I mean, so she comes from a different generation than me. See, it's like, that's a working generation, you know, they're real big on work. So coming from her, hearing like, yo, you can work as hard as you want, but once people start talking out of your name or talking crazy or stuff like that, then that's when you just got to let it be and then get out of there. So that helped me a lot.
So make sure you're respected.
Yeah,
we just
sure
talked about that respect piece.
You know, make sure that you're respected, and that if it comes down to somebody disrespecting you, just don't disrespect them. Just try to get out of there as most respectful way as you can.
So basically, she was telling you what you're worth.
Yeah, like know your worth.
Know your worth. Value yourself. Like you don't have to stick around to the places where is not beneficial to you, or it's hurting you, or something, it's crushing you, you know, stuff like that.
Definitely.
I like that. That's pretty good. Because I'm always trying to figure out what kind of little nuggets I can give to my son. I mean, my daughter's like, you know, I'm a female, so I kind of like, but for my son, it's like, what can I say to you that's going to stick with you as you grow up? Like, even though you don't like all my parenting now, but I need something that's going to sustain you and be substance to you when you get 21, you know, on a radio show, talk about, I love you, Mom. I remember when you did this.
There's a book called Black Pearls. It's about affirmations for Black people, and it's really important to use I am, because if saying I am, like, subconsciously, it pulls you closer to stuff that you want to be. So if you are, I am brilliant, or I am, the good ones, like, I am rejuvenated by my creativity. So stuff like, and there's a lot of, you could just look up I am affirmations and find tons of them, but
there's a
those
whole
really,
app for it. I'm pretty sure there's an app that you can put on your phone called I am, and it sends you affirmations every day. That actually pretty helps out a lot. I'm not gonna lie.
Wow.
Good, so, yeah.
Okay. I didn't even, you know, again, that whole mindset of like our boys, you know, even affirmations, like, I'm just thinking like, wow, we really need to be having our boys do affirmations too. Like,
yes, definitely. And like, I was put into a lot of like, I don't know if he probably has, but like a lot of different boys groups. Those help out a lot too. Like, what school do they go to?
Well, military academy.
Military academy. What?
First State.
First State. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm about to say I
down
know
at
that.
Lower
Okay.
Delaware.
Okay. I was talking about. Yeah, I'm about to say. So they probably got.
But he's
boys stuff
homeschooled
going
now.
on, too. Okay.
Yeah. So, but they do have a thing on their homeschool thing. It talks about like socialization and all this other stuff they kind of try to pour into them.
Yeah.
But that's good. So you guys definitely have to come back.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm telling you, because this conversation is like, yeah. Oh, see, I'm telling you, this conversation, I think you really helped. I know you helped me, and I know other people who are watching you really helped them, and it's something that probably triggered like something like wow. So I definitely want you guys back. I certainly appreciate you coming on the show today. The conversation was engaging as usual. You know, having this, as we're talking about things that we don't really talk about, and they're so important, especially if we want to change the narrative of our people and our young boys. Because again, our boys have to become men. So I think it's so important to know as a parent of the things that we could do better to help assist this. Thank you, everybody, for joining in Parenting with a Purpose. I am your host, Donna Janelle. We thank you for our guests, Bryce, Shelton, and Savion Thompson, valuing our boys and what's necessary for our boys. So tune in weekly at 7 p.m. To Parenting with a Purpose, where, again, we want to bring back the responsibility, nobility, and beauty back into parenting.